Welcome to the Louchen Bros podcast. This show is hosted by Brian Louchen
and Kevin Louchen, and we are bros who talk about nerd stuff.
I was wondering how long you were going.
I could have gone a little longer. So we have an interesting podcast episode. We're going to be covering. It's not new, but it is a very big cult classic in a lot of avenues. It's the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And basically, I would be surprised if you haven't heard of it by now, but it's kind of when a recently engaged couple gets stranded when their car, they're in the middle of the woods. They proceed to find a castle, which is seemingly owned by Dr. Frankenfurter. And he's a kind of a mad scientist where you learn he's an alien and he's come here to... And this was a little vague for me. I had to actually dig into a little bit and think about it. He actually came to study human behavior, but in the process, it seemed like he become corrupt into the sexual explorations of the human behavior, and he wanted to create a love interest named Rocky Horror. And unfortunately for him, Rocky Horror isn't too interested in Dr. Frankenfurter as much, and looks elsewhere, and that creates a lot of jealousy and kind of ends up being the downfall of Dr. Frankenfurter, where eventually the other aliens with him decide to do a coup, and then they decide to go back to the planet transsexual. So yeah, it's a story. Let's put it that way. As far as Brian, what's your initial thoughts?
This is the weirdest fucking movie, and it's over 50 years old, which is crazy to me. So, I mean, you basically are blending rock and roll, aliens, and like a soft porn movie mixed together.
Well, it's a musical. It is
Yes.
a musical. Its title's a musical and themed with a lot of topics, and I think nowadays this gets a little spicy. So, meaning it has a lot to do with sexuality. And I can't speak for Brian. My perspective is not here to get into the nitty gritty of that in relations to today, just what the film was and what it meant to the time. I think it was an attempt to really kind of attack the stereotypes and the ideas of sexuality, to try to be more progressive with the times and the understanding of how people are. I think that was at its core. However, when I looked at it more, I was like, this is basically like a Frankenstein version. And literally the name Frankenfurter is a variation of it and an attempt to do it. There's a lot of puns and a lot of avenues of which they really draw into the modern society back in the 70s and try to really poke fun, play with the ideas, maybe even attack some of these concepts societally. And it is a very interesting way that they've done it. And literally, it is still a cult classic today. So I have a little bit of history with this film because, oh my God, this is probably going back 2 decades ago. I was dating a woman that was really into this movie and stuff like that. And there's still, and I double checked, there's a local theater that still to this day does the midnight showings of this movie, and they do what's called a shadow cast, which is as you watch the film, actors are literally acting out the film in front of the movie. So I did witness this. And then I went and saw it at a much later time period, probably over a decade after it, same theater and everything. And it was, from when I originally saw it, was a variation even differently than that. So, and I think it had to do more with the times updating because of people with sensitivities. So when I originally went, you got there an hour early. So it was a midnight showing. So we get there at 11, and you were... like literally the crowds of people were there, and if you were a virgin to seeing the movie, not in real life, to seeing the movie, they actually would have the virgins come up to the front of the theater.
What?
No theater, nothing's playing. The lights are on and everything. There's just people, they're doing an intro. They had the virgins come up there, if you were comfortable and whatnot, and they almost were like, playing around with you.
Did you go up there, Kev?
Yes, I did, because it was the first time.
Hell yes!
What they did is they took lipstick and would mark your cheek with a red V for virgin, and that's what it was. It was a very.
I've never heard this story from you, but I love it.
So it was a fun time. They did try to. They did say, like, if you're comfortable, because a scene involves kind of declothing people and basically being half naked half the time, and they asked, "Oh yeah, go ahead, take your clothes off." No one really did it. Like, I would have been okay with it, but back then Commando was a thing for me, so I was not going to do that, as they might say. I was like, yeah, I can't, bro. No, this is not working. Lord. That was, of course, back then. But yeah, so it was kind of a intro. They played around and had interaction with the audience members and whatnot. Then they did the actual movie scene and stuff, and it was fun. It was interesting. The atmosphere was good vibes, extremely good vibes. It was just everyone just having fun, playing around. The second time I went, because I've only done it twice that I can recall, not when I went again, they didn't even do that first part. No V thing, nothing. There's no intro. There's no communicating with you. There's nothing. Don't know what happened. But it was over a decade later, so you're thinking it's probably at least in the 2010s. All right, well, people become a little more sensitive from the 2000s to then. And even now, there's no way that flies. People are just so ready to ridicule. Like, how dare you, and blah, blah, blah. And that's the one thing I do miss about, having a little bit of thick skin. I do believe society today is a little softer, and everyone's so ready to just argue and think they're bashing versus just trying to have a little plain old fun and interaction. And I guess maybe some people just take things a little too personally. I don't know. I'm not really here to get into that. It was a really fun experience, and unfortunately, I would imagine they're not doing the same thing like used to even now. But that movie theater that did it, they still have some showings. Now, they were doing it year-round. I know that. It doesn't look like they're still doing it year-round, but even now, currently, they have a show in August and a couple in October. So it's still around. It's still a thing, but it is a very specific niche, however you want to say it. I don't know. And it's very interesting. I like it was that was my best experience of the movie itself, was being able to sit there in that theater and watch the people. And even the second viewing with the actors on the side, there wasn't as many actors and all that. I mean, there's like literally at one time, like, would have guessed like 15 people up around the theaters acting this out. It was really cool. It really was.
I mean, that adds a lot of rewatchability, I think, as far as, later part of our review and stuff like that, for sure.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
So, I mean, as far as the story for me, it was, to me, very convoluted. Like, yeah, I know, like, the tone itself or the theme itself, I mean, from the standpoint of, like, tone, 50 years ago, to me, it just shocked, like, culture and societal norms, for sure. I think it definitely brought it to the forefront as far as showcasing, like, bisexuality, queer, gender, and androgynous, or androgyny. And I know back from, like, the medieval period, like, through history, we learned, whether Game of Thrones and stuff like that, but, like, having a strong bloodline with brothers and sisters and all that, but, like, again, this was, like, they brought it to the forefront. They weren't hiding, like, anything, and I thought that really, it was the first movie that I can kind of remember as far as, again, this is, like, one of my second times, like, watching the actual movie, but, like, I feel like it showed it, like, in the public eye, and this was released in 1975. Can you think of any movies that kind of went over, like, this main, like, theme or tone of the movie, Kev? From that long ago? Because I can't.
as far as sexuality goes, geez, I back then, I think it probably wasn't the only one, but it's probably one of the biggest notarized one as far as really trying to push, homosexuality and gender and all this other concepts. We very much are heavily now into society wise. But it was definitely back then. Here's the thing, though, is if you do go into history, it has been around forever. It's not like, but it's been generally thought of as unacceptable, right?
Or taboo because of like religion.
Yeah, whether
revolved around it as well. I think.
Well,
but not that we have to dive.
Like I said,
into that,
these concepts are so hot topic nowadays. I don't want to get into that element of where we really are. It's just this is what the movie meant. They were trying to attack these ideas, talk about it, bring to light this. But in reality, it has been around forever. It's just, religion, I definitely believe, is a huge reason why it's kind of been, pushed in the dark as far as that goes. And I think time will tell how things play out. One reality is, that this is going to never go away, right? Like sexuality and whatnot. And so this is just trying to make it sort of more of a known concept or not the worst or ill advised. Like they had a such fun version of what was supposed to be an evil act. They wanted it to be like, look, these people aren't evil, in a sense, right? But obviously Dr. Frankenfurter is not a good person. But like there's a lot of people like they just wanted it out there, like, hey, this is sort of a perversion, and some people own it as an evil thing, and some people are like, look, this want it normalized, right? But like I said, the concept isn't what we want to really dig into. It's just that it was happening.
Yeah, and I guess like I said with the story aspect, they have like a romance story. They find a fucking random ass castle in the middle of nowhere after breaking down.
Let's yes, I want to go into some of the story arc itself.
Okay.
And what? All right. So first off, I think the wedding initially that you see is really just to start that they're engaged. But in reality, I'm like, they needed to start somewhere. I don't know that they had to start where they were, other than they could have just started where they were traveling in an engaged couple. But I think what they did utilize is a little bit of Easter egg as, I don't know if it's supposed to be Dr. Frankenfurter and Riff Raff. Excuse me, were at the wedding as he looked like he was the priest, and then Riff Raff was like the farmer holding it, and that's once again going to lead to another Easter egg. But they were there. I don't know if they were supposed to be their character or they were just playing another character, if that makes sense. However, if you look at the commentator that's actually narrating it, he has a picture of them at one point, and they're circled. So once again, I don't know if they're supposed to be that. They're supposed to be a character, or it's just an Easter egg for the fan. I don't know. Maybe people do know. I was like, I'm not heavy into this movie, but like it is known to me that was a thing. And the reason why that was an Easter egg is because when they eventually get to the castle, there's the photo of American Gothic right there with the farmer and his daughter, and they literally were depicting that and that. But once again, American Gothic is seen as a traditional style of life, which with this movie they're kind of attacking in a sense. So there is a lot to dig into that they were making this for a reason, and I love that. But the beginning, in a way, is not as necessary other than Easter egg. But I have a problem with the whole car breaking down, mostly for one reason. Yes, there was a tire blowout. However, Brad is sitting in the car. He's like, "Oh, we blew out a tire." He didn't get out to look. He just said, "We blew a tire." I'm like, what the fuck is that? It's a little detail, but it bothered me.
Maybe he just doesn't know how to change a car tire.
Well, the flat, if you don't have a spare, the spare's flat.
Which he said he didn't check the spare.
But he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything.
He's like the worst husband ever.
Like, he just, we got a flat tire. Then they get out of the car, and then they look down at the flat tire on the car. I'm like, how did he know all this And then they show it after the fact. Maybe they just... I don't know. I was like, that is stupid as shit. So I was a little annoyed about that. Finding a castle in the middle of the woods, not too extreme of a concept. They're there all the time. But outside of that, it's following the story. They get to the castle. Which was fine. It was weird. It was supposed to be creepy, right?
Like, butler.
Yeah, the hunchback. You know, like riffraff is what it is. I like that element. It was kind of proving that. The weird thing was the motorcycles just driving there, and you're like, what the hell's going on here? And it's like...
It turns into a big fucking party.
Yeah, just big ass fucking party. And you're like, all right.
I did enjoy the silliness of the fucking movie.
Yes.
Because this is one of the movies I feel like you just can't take too seriously. It had that playfulness, I feel. Like.
They were going for an element of that, despite the fact they were trying to you know, show traditional norms as can be broken. They wanted to be silly about it, and that's literally what they did. I mean, it's a fucking musical about aliens from the planet transsexual and the what was it, from Transylvania.
Yeah.
It's like, what the So
I thought they were like pseudo vampires at first. I'm like, what is happening? And then like they're aliens. Like,
yeah,
I was a little confused.
So that's why I think the weirdness of them is like, oh, they are aliens because they look human, but they act so weird. They look so weird. And I think to some people that are of traditional upbringings, seeing somebody that outlandish, like if you took a farmer that was like born in the 60s or 70s and drop him in, you know, Chicago Gay Pride Parade, he's gonna fucking head explode. Like, that is just not something that he's like he's gonna feel like he's been abducted. You know what I mean? Like, he's just gonna feel like on a different planet. I think that was almost a concept here is what they were going for. You know what I mean?
That's true. And it's kind of like the same way with you travel to different countries and you're not exposed to different cultures.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Or sometimes just going from the suburbs to downtown.
Like,
that's a whole other experience.
It's different. It's different. So I think there's just that element that happens. But considering it's also from the 70s, that's why you don't have a cell phone to call anybody, right? Even then, you could have a dead battery or no cell service. Definitely have experienced that myself.
Did they use the rotary phones then? Or
they were probably phasing some of that out during the start of that. Wow. But still, have you ever used one? Those are cool.
I have not, actually.
I've used it once. I'm like, what? This is so fucking weird.
Because I know they had, I think, touch tone and pulse dialing, because I learned about that at my previous job.
I don't know what pulse dialing is.
So
Touchstone is what we typically grew up with. Exactly. Before that, I thought was rotary. I don't know what the other one is.
I'll have to look it up.
Anyways, the time warp, fourth wall. Time warp was a huge thing. Even like, I just know people were really into it. Like, okay, so I said I went to the theater. People got up and did the time warp. Like, the audience members would get up, stand up, and dance and do the time warp when I went there. The first time, like, it was like at least half the audience. It was crazy. Second time, there was like 12 people, maybe. Like, it was, like I said, the vibe was just different. And I'm like, man, this isn't as awesome as I remember it being initially.
But it's cool that you had both of those experiences on kind of both sides of the spectrum to kind of see, the experience.
It's interesting. I wouldn't say cool because I think the latter is worse.
Well, of course.
I think it's just an indictment to me of how society is nowadays, but that's just me. But okay, so they're doing that. Then in the process of this, a couple of things, like, obviously this is an unrealistic movie, but there's just some things I just thought, even in that unrealistic idea, was just so stupid. You have these traditional people, Brad and Janet, right? So like I said, the tire thing was like, this is just dumb detail. They could have just literally had him stick his head out the damn window and look, okay, got whatever. Another dumb detail is these traditional like people, which they just start stripping their clothes off. No, just taking it off, and they didn't bat an eyelid. They're just like, oh, I'm just naked or half naked now.
Oh, Brad, it's all right, Janet.
Like, what? No, that's like, I thought that was so dumb.
Yeah,
They should have fought it a little bit or said, like, no, like, hey, we gotta dry them. And
they were
just
done with so charmed by these aliens.
But that leads me into this other aspect, which it does happen in the scenes right around there, but even a little later. So literally 1 second, they're like, Janet's so afraid of, oh my God, they're so weird, these other people. And then the next second, she's like, oh my God, what's going on? This is so interesting. Oh, they're so scary. Oh my God, oh, what's happening? Oh, I like his abs.
Yeah,
oh my God, they're so scary.
They flipped the switch.
I did not like that. Like, she should have been a little more consistent. I don't know what that was about, but it was just like, what the hell is happening? I thought you, like, hated and were afraid of these people. So that detail, once again, it doesn't ruin the film, but it was just something that I'm like, you were literally like afraid, holding on to Brad for dear life a second ago. So I thought that was dumb. All right, I think one of the biggest issues I have is, I don't know why this pissed me off so much, but there was a water tank. So they left the thing and they went up to the laboratory. Dexter's laboratory. Anyways, that's a reference. So in the laboratory, there is a giant tank with this wrapped, mummified looking body. It's in this like liquid, assuming water of some sort, and then all of a sudden they just add what looks like food coloring. Like, it just looked like a bunch of food coloring water streaks. And then you see this rainbow, which might be some of the early stages of what they're trying to exploit with representation. And then all of a sudden, Rocky comes out, which is fine, except there's no fucking water. He is dry as a bone. I'm like, okay, this is dumb as shit. I did not like that at all. I hated that detail.
I mean, the detail I liked was Rocky, who's the Frankenstein creature, his gold speedo and that gold boots, like, he's ready for wrestling, bro. He just needed to get warmed up, because he just gets unwrapped and then he's fucking ready to go, like, you know,
he didn't need to stretch. He got laser beamed with colored waters. Yeah, it was what it is.
Again, the weird full playness, whatever you want to call, you know,
that's why you can't take it too serious. But even some of the little details like that, I was
Kevin wants his aliens to be precise.
No, that's not what I'm going for. I like ridiculous, but sometimes I just want it to make sense, and that didn't make sense. How he's in a pool of, like, it wasn't a little. This was like a fucking bed size amount.
It was a water coffin.
It was a water coffin, and it's dry as a bone. I'm like, come on, man. I don't know. Maybe, if anything, glistening in that orange Speedo in water might have been sexier. It could have made it oil.
Kevin, you missed the behind the scenes of the drain where it's
maybe that's clearly what it is. So then it, you know, I didn't entirely understand, and I actually did have to look up a little of what they were going for with some of these themes and ideas, to be honest with you, because it was a little lost on me. Like, I wasn't entirely sure what the point of Eddie was.
Oh, the motorcycle guy?
Yeah.
I think he was the love interest for the one girl.
Magenta. He was the love no, Columbia.
Oh, yeah, it was Columbia, because Magenta was the sister.
Yeah, I keep mixing them up. Yeah, Columbia. The thing. So that was played by the singer Meatloaf. I don't know how familiar you are. I will do anything for love, but I won't do that. Anyways, that's.
When I think Meatloaf, I think the red guy from the cartoon you used to watch, Kev.
I don't even know who you're talking about. But when I think Meatloaf, I think of Delicious Dinner normally, but that's just me. So yeah, he was in it, and I know he was like sort of an antagonist, I guess, of Dr. Frankenfurter, because there was like a jealousy thing, and he ends up killing him, and I think that's what lays into. Obviously Columbia gets so very angry with him, and there's an element to that, but maybe that adds into the part of he is losing his marbles in a sense that they kind of do the coup later on.
I must be losing my marbles because it wasn't Meatloaf, Kev. It was Meatwad.
Meatwad. Okay. I know who you're talking about now. Hell yeah, Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Yeah. Meatwad's awesome.
That was your jam back in the day.
It was the Moonanites. Hell yeah. Anyways, yeah. So I don't know if that was an element of it because I thought the sexual exploitation of Rocky was more the ending of why Riff Raff wanted to kind of do the coup. So there's maybe some subtle like plot lines that this is added in, and it just seemed like it was supposed to be a fun scene where he's, Meatloaf gets murdered, but it also drives around with a motorcycle inside the house. That's all it is. Like, yeah, I always wanted to do that. So that was, like I said, a little lost on me. I did not initially understand why Riff Raff was trying to scare Rocky. Well, he grabs the candle, like the candelier or whatever the thing is with multiple candles on it, the candle holder, and he goes and scares him with fire. At that moment, I was like, "Oh, this is Frankenstein." This literally that had so much elements of Frankenstein because of the fire and the. But obviously not exactly. But that's what I thought. But I was like, "What's the angle?" I actually had to look into this a little bit. And this played into where this was the point at which it really looks like Riff Raff is the point of causing chaos that really is the undoing of Dr. Frankenfurter. But once again, I don't know how. I wasn't really into the character development. I didn't really get that from this because you're so, overwhelmed and hitting on the head with the sexuality content. Like some of the plot lines were they're there, but I wasn't exactly sure what they were going for. And so it was a little lost on me.
Yeah, that's what I was saying at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, the story was very convoluted as far
Yeah.
as, you got Brad, and he is having this little love story going on, with Janet, and then, again, they go into this random freaking castle, and then, like I said, there's a lot of foreshadowing, like you said, with the pictures and the narrator, and even the narrator, I liked that aspect of it.
That's fun.
But, like, where did it all tie in? Because even at the, spoiler alert, at the end of the movie, the fucking castle flies away, so it's like, he's investigating this. What is he investigating? So it's,
with the way it starts off is he's narrating, and he's doing it like almost an old school. You remember that show from like I think it was the 90s where Unsolved Mysteries, Unsolved Murders.
Yes,
I think that's what this was kind of formatted as like. So that was that kind of came into place. I wasn't overly like bothered or that's how I took it. And so I was fine. It just once again kind of some of the direction was kind of weird, but I don't think they cared so much about what they were doing as far as some of these little lines. He just made it happen. But once again, going with the sexual thing, because at that time that Riff Raff was doing that, Dr. Frankenfurter was fucking Brad and Janet.
Yeah, that was
Janet
so weird where he had like mimicked the look of them and then like
the sound as well, and then it's like,
and
well, it's really
changed into them, and then and then they just kind of went with it because they're basically were being seduced essentially.
And once again, I didn't know what the hell the reason for some of that was. It took some honestly, it took some digging. I was like, okay, I know what's happening, but I don't know why it's happening. And basically, it will tie in more towards the end. When you get into it, it's about the sexual exploitation. So, and
alien seduction.
Yes, basically.
Alien sexual seduction. That would be ass.
Alien ass right there. Going forward, another thing I didn't like. So when the rival doctor showed up, he's in a wheelchair and he's kind of just exploring. First off, he just strolled in because Riff Raff wasn't seemingly there. So who the fuck let the guy in the house? He just fucking breaking and entering. So he's in the front room, and then all of a sudden, Dr. Frankenfurter, was it him? I don't know, but they're in the laboratory, and he hits the freaking switch, and then there's like magnetic switch switch makes his chair all of a sudden go all over the house. I'm like, what the stupid is this shit? I did not understand what the point was that, other than being ridiculous, which it was, but I like ridiculous, but that doesn't mean I like all ridiculous. This one was just like, this is missing its mark with me. I don't know. So
it sounds to me like believability with you, Kevin, it is important, whether the
to a degree
ridiculous or not.
Well, I think it depends. Like the ridiculousness has to fit what they're doing as a mold. If you go back and forth between trying to have some realism with trying to be ridiculous, sometimes it can miss. It's not like I have it to a T, like it has to fit this. Sometimes it's just, you watch something and it's like music. You might not like a certain genre of music or certain artists or something, whatever. And you can hear one song, you can hear one band, you can hear something and something you notoriously do not like, and you're like, oh wow, I kind of like this. Why? What's the reason? You said you don't like this. I don't like country. I don't. But there might be a song that I'm like, all right, this song's okay.
Devil went down to Georgia.
Right? But that's not even true country, but we don't need to get into that. But the point being is, you can still hear something or watch something or see something that just like, I don't know. Like, I like ridiculous stuff. Sharknado, fuck that movie. Fuck that. Fuck you if you like it. I hate that fucking, I don't know. But then there's stuff like even I was telling you, the priest that does the time traveling and attacks the velociraptors or whatever. Like, I'm telling you. So Sharknado, I'm a big thumbs down on. But I've seen a movie called Monstered, where it's a giant monster shit that is attacking people because it's radiated. Like, I'm telling you, I don't know. Like, there's a movie I have called Thanksgiving. It's about a turkey killing people. So stupid.
We should watch that on Thanksgiving,
dude. We can coming to you. All right, like there's a one. So this is how. So one of my buddies got me in this. There's a 1 and a 3. Why is there a 1 and a 3? Well, because 2 is so evil that whoever watched it was murdered, so they just skipped over it and went 1 to 3. Like, they played into the concept of, like, sometimes it hits, and it did. So I actually haven't watched it. I bought it just because I was like, I'm gonna get this because
purchase of your life.
Want to know what sold me on that? I know we're so off topic, but want to know what sold me on this? My buddy says, and I seen the scene where the turkey goes gobble gobble, motherfucker. Alright, I'm sorry. I'm not trying.
Can we please just break this section? We need to move the fuck
on. No, we're still going. Alright, we're off of that. Back to topic here. Alright, so there was a scene that was pretty silly where it goes like Brad's yelling Janet's yelling like Dr. Scott's yelling Brad, and they're just doing a cycle, but they do it a couple times in a row, like obviously like, okay, you don't have to keep doing it. That was pretty entertaining. But that was at the dinner scene, and then like you see Meatloaf dead and everything, and it was fine. It was like, it wasn't a toss. All right. So they turned the Dr. Frankenfurter turned them to stone like Medusas with this gun, and then he dresses him up for like cabaret. I'm like, all right. And then he unfreezes them. They start dancing and singing. There's a satellite, there's a water, and this scene is happening in front of, it's like an auditorium, and there's nobody there except Dr. Frankenfurter seeing people as he's performing. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? He
had an audience earlier in the movie.
But that's the thing but they weren't seeing it. So how come he was seeing it and they weren't? I was like, what is fucking the point to this scene? And that's where it took me to do some more research to understand, like, oh, so apparently the point to I was like, what is he even doing on Earth? What is going on? Like, so apparently, and you read into stuff, there's like, that's the thing, is the more cult classic, the more fans you have, the more people will just develop the most random things that they want narrative wise, because they project a narrative. That's what I love about human creativity. Like, you get these people that create a story, and then like Star Wars, Lucas had the story, and then people ran off on tangents creatively, and I love that. But what happened apparently is Riff Raff then with his sister Magenta then ends up basically cooing and killing Dr. Frankenfurter, Rocky, and as well as Dr. Frankenfurter killed, I thought, what's her name? Columbia. I don't remember. Columbia got killed. I don't remember who at the moment. But what happened is, using this ray, first off, that ray was not very good, those laser beams. But anyways, the point was, what's happening to this coup? And I was like, he's like, the noble cause, which Riff Raff is there, why he wants to go back to planet. I'm like, what was happening that was lost on me? Apparently, the reason with that scene, and that's at the core here, is Dr. Frankenfurter's there to apparently study human behavior and sexuality and exploitation, and he's doing like a show, and he's projecting it back to transsexual. That's apparently what's happening. And that's why he's seeing an audience, even though they're not there. That's him performing, as that's the end of the show. That's why it's projected that way. But at this point, Riff Raff is saying, "Oh, your experiment is, you've diluted it. You've made it about you and making." Rocky Horror, and this is a failure. So then he kills them, and then he just wants to go back to planet transsexual. That is not obvious.
I did not get any of that from this story because it wasn't clear. Now, if there was. And they could have simply solved that, Kevin, by just putting like a projector or something, you know what I mean? But again, it was just for interpretation to be able to figure that fucking out.
That's what I read. There's other interpretations, but that was kind of a little bit of a more overall. You could have addressed that by maybe having a TV set with some weird alien people watching,
exactly.
Dr. Frankenfurter and Riff Raff, like they're on a TV. That would have made more sense. Like now, after reading that, it made sense why there's like a satellite in the background. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I didn't understand. It was lost to me. I'm not saying I'm the smartest person, but like I still couldn't understand what was happening. So I was
sometimes the most obvious storytelling, I think, helps deliver the story better. And that's, again, why I felt it was so convoluted. If you're having to research to understand the fucking story elements, that's a problem.
So that was probably one of my biggest, like, this is a huge, like, everything up to that point was actually relatively fine. Like, you were getting what you needed to out of it as far as story-wise. It's just the ending, I'm like, why were they here, like, in any form? Obviously, the reason could be unknown, right? Sometimes that's part of the story. Like, why was a killer killing people? You don't always know that detail, but the storyline is they're killing people. Why are the aliens here? Well, it looks like they're just having sex with people. It looks like, which could be the story, but then why have the audience there? Why have it a theater production? I know it's a musical, but still, it's an actual theater, like being produced like a movie, as Columbia is holding like literally lights and stuff. I was like, what is this about? Why is he performing? And then like, conveniently, that's his last act as he's murdered. It's like, okay, but I feel like that you're making a point to do it that way. What is the point? So that's really what was kind of lost on me. And then the cheesy Gray Skull Island castle being airlifted off and leaving, and it's like, okay, I know why they want to go back because they don't seem to like it. But so yeah, that as a plot line was definitely lost, and I had to research. I'm like, what? I don't understand, because you even hear the references Riff Raff is saying the cause in the experiment. You failed and this and that, and it's like, what was it then? Like, you're alluding to a point, and we have at least I didn't. It wasn't made obvious to me. So that's kind of the biggest take I have on. I know we kind of went off topic a little bit, but that's my story as far as that goes. I don't have any specifically on this. I want to comment on. Brian, you have any other things you want to comment on?
Negative.
All right, let's go ahead and rate this. All right, ready? Beach. I'm going slightly down.
I'm staying in the middle because of tone and theme of the movie. But that would have definitely been up for me. But again, the story itself was completely down and convoluted, so it's going to be somewhere in the middle.
I'm going slightly down personally overall because I think a positive aspect of this was that they are trying to attack some tropes and some norms that definitely can be a little outdated to say the least even back then. But the story was not that great. The comedy aspect and the entertainment aspect, the shock value was also a benefit. The story was just, I didn't like the approach. However, also tied into this huge thing is I am not a musical guy. I am really not a musical guy. I'm not.
If you want to see a musical Kevin review.
Fuck you, bro. Fuck you. No, I am not a musical guy. Like Mamma Mia is never going to be watched by me. You have to pay me. Like that is not a thing. No, thank you. Like that stuff. I just. Now the weird thing about this is I don't mind going to see live theater musical performances, but actual movies, I don't know. I think it's because I actually enjoy the vibe of a live theater. That is so fun to me.
It definitely is an experience, that in-person connection. What about even with The Greatest Showman with freaking Hugh Jackman?
I haven't watched it for a reason.
Okay, we'll have to circle back on
no
that.
Interest, none. I just
let's move over to the casting.
Yeah, the characters and the casting,
and stuff like that. So
first and foremost, Tim Curry, God damn it, you are an angel. That man is a phenomenal actor. Always has been back then, and even is now, even in his unfortunate health situation. Fabulous. He was fucking amazing, over the top, phenomenal.
Legend. He's a fucking legend.
He's one of the best actors, I think, of all time. His range, just his ability to sing, just everything about him. He was fucking phenomenal. I absolutely love him. Perfect casting. I don't think you could do. I literally don't think anybody could do this role. I think I don't think you can make a better casting. I think it almost had to be him as Dr. Frankenfurter. You would really have to surprise me with someone with his range and talent.
You would have to really, really, really break it down to find someone to even come close to doing that. As far as, yeah, he killed it.
Not to get too far down this deep dive, he as far as I know, he's a straight man, and playing somebody that is he was so believable in his sexual interest in Rocky Horror. You know what I mean? If he's straight, it's crazy how believable. Oh, that's a good movie.
Yeah. So I was just the thing that came to mind was the Birdcage movie.
But that's much later. That's the 90s.
With Nathan Lane, he played a very good character, but it didn't have the singing aspect.
He does do musical, but it's not just that. Tim Curry's look, he had that flaring afro curly hair. It was very kind of feminine in that aspect in a way, right? And just his mannerisms, just even his physique, he wasn't super buff, but he wasn't feminine, but he just did it so well. And once again, assuming he's a straight man, to be able to do that, that's I think a role, and especially at that time, it's very hard to do.
Oh, and he just was so smooth.
Oh my God.
It came so natural as far as at least how the portrayal was.
I mean, after that movie comes out, if you're a woman and he's hitting on you, you might be very shocked. You know what I mean? Whoa. So, phenomenal casting. I think that is, he made this movie. Period. That period with the T, as the kids say these days. Period. He was perfect.
And I haven't read much about Tim Curry's history, but I don't know if that was a breakout performance or not for him, or how in his career where that was, but it definitely, I think, shot him up for sure from there.
Yeah, I don't know where it is on his landing scale of whatnot, but it's definitely a notable role. I know he was in I do believe, technically it's a Disney movie, even that was old, with Tom Cruise. It's called Legend. And he plays the devil.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that was an amazing performance.
Yeah.
I've only seen that movie once, and I I didn't really care for it, but his devil was fucking awesome looking. Yeah, that shit was cool.
I know. I
He
remember
did it.
from
It was
Legend,
huge.
Home Alone 2, obviously. Like,
So
he's been in some good shit.
He's always been a good character, and maybe in a way he didn't get a lot of main roles. Unfortunately, one things I know that the movie bombed, as far as I remember, but he was awesome. Do you remember the movie Congo? It was hugely promoted.
With the freaking apes or the gorillas?
Yeah, I think were they baboons? Maybe they were baboons. Some sort of primate, I do believe, that was it was like about a diamond mine that was hidden in the Amazon or something like that. And he was phenomenal. But like these, I think the apes, did they have lasers? They somehow made lasers. Oh wait, no, that was the people that used the diamonds they found. It was something like that. But anyways, phenomenal actor. Moving forward, we'll do. How about Janet Weiss? Susan Sarandon. Come on. If Tim Curry wasn't awesome and perfect for this role, I mean, she's right there. She's right there with her. Her Grease days took her for a very, very long. I do believe that was before this. So she got almost typecasted in the sense she's a musical performance heroine that's just awesome, and she was perfect for that role. I loved her. I thought that was a great casting as well.
Yeah, Janet and Brad, they both were a believable couple until they got swayed.
Well, yeah, Brad.
Brad,
I didn't recognize his name, Richard O'Brien, as much, but I recognize him in some of the stuff he's done. I don't know that
Richard O'Brien was Riff Raff.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Barry Bostwick. I'm sorry. Yeah, Brad Majors. Yeah, Barry Bostwick. I recognize him, and I know he's been in some things, but I don't know that he ever got the notoriety with a lot of his major roles. But I thought he played a great role as kind of a great thing. I thought he played his lines well. He fed off of Susan Sarandon super well. I think they just really, honestly, I have more here written down, but honestly, I think the casting is the best part about this movie. I think the people they selected, the characters they portrayed, I actually have zero complaints about any of the casting and the performances as their characters. I think that they were phenomenal. Meatloaf did an awesome job, even as short as it was. Magenta, Columbia, and even Riff Raff. I thought their characters all did exactly what you wanted them to do as far as what they were given.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you, Kev. I don't think there was a casting I didn't like, actually. So if you do it on the flip side, so I mean, I can't think of one. I think all the casting did its job and they acted the parts very well. None of them seemed like out of place. Even if you have to break down freaking, Rocky, he's a freaking Frankenstein, so it's not like he needs to have much of a speaking part.
He wasn't supposed to.
But yeah, like, all the casting was done very well.
Like I'm not even mad about it. I'm like thumbs up on all of them. Like, I mean, I'm ready to even vote.
Okay,
like,
let's do it.
Like, for me, the vote is simple. It's a thumbs up.
Yeah,
like,
thumbs
full up, all of them.
Totally
I love the casting fully across the board. The minor characters, even then, they did their exact role what they were supposed to be. And so I thought it was perfect for casting.
All right, Kev, your favorite category is next, sound and music.
So,
for a
my
musical.
favorite category, sound and music. Now, the one thing is, being a musical, that's something you're expected to have. It's not just songs and music that's already done. They had their own original songs and everything. And for that reason alone, I'm never just going to be mad about it, because any original music I always find very much, I'm all pro making your own stuff. I feel like it's an extra effort, and for a musical, you better have your own fucking thing, right? For the most part. So, at this, like, you go first, because you got more comments than I probably will.
I mean, I know they had a lot of catchy songs in it, right? And then we talked a lot about tone and theme. A lot of it was kind of related around that, like hot patootie,
Touch me.
sweet transvestite, like what else was on? I'm going home. Well, that doesn't really relate, but you get Rose Tint My World, Planet Schmanet Janets, touch me. So yeah, they had a lot of songs that were pretty catchy that I felt like, and they were. I mean, when I say catchy, we're not talking like pop songs that you can like necessarily sing out to unless you're a big like musical junkie and get up and act in the theater and stuff like that. But there was a good 5-6 songs where it did have there was pretty good jams in there.
I think the songs were perfect for what they were going for. They were unique. They were all created. They weren't like covers or anything like that. They were very time fitting. They like to play with the audience, and the time warp. That song is so iconic.
Yes,
from this, and so I this is very impressive for me, like for a musical to be very well done, and in a way by a lot of not big kind of crazy actors. I do feel like a lot of musicals like you see created have big actors and whatnot, whereas this is more of a classic kind of theater kind of musical, and I thought it was really good. I don't have more to talk about this.
All right, let's go ahead and rate it.
I'm going thumbs up too. Yeah, I love the original work. That's always going to be great for me personally. So,
let's talk about visuals, wardrobe, special effects, and editing.
Do you want me to start it and then?
I mean, I can start it. I mean, there was a lot going on as far as here. Like I said, there was, the castle looked good from the outside, like Castle Grayskull.
It did. Did it not look like Castle Grayskull to a degree? I thought it did.
Yeah, like the costumes and stuff like that, I thought were done really well for the theme and the tone of the actual movie. You had the corsets that Curry wore and stuff like that. Surprisingly, the costume designer didn't even kind of research, for a science fiction type film, which this is.
It's science fiction, unless you know of a planet called Transsexual that I don't.
So that was kind of interesting, and a lot of the costumes for filming with the pool scene, they had to buy 2 different sets, one dry set and one wet set, because of going in the actual pool.
Yeah, yep.
So that was kind of interesting, I thought.
I thought the costumes fit the characters great. I thought the corsets, very classic, feminine. Like I said, it's like a cabaret. It's a very feminine feature kind of look. I thought it was absolutely great as far as that kind of visual looks and needed. The special effects themselves, you didn't need a ton, but when they were there, they were fucking terrible. Fucking atrocious. The laser beams from the gun, maybe it was meant to be that way. Sure, fine. But they literally just... I wanted to punch myself in the face. They were so bad. The castle leaving and going back to transsexual was terrible looking. It was atrocious. But they didn't need much more than that. It was like literally the equivalent of me going meow with the laser beam. Oh my god, I hated it.
I mean, this is 1975, but you were probably expecting a little bit more.
Listen. It doesn't matter. Like it was. I do believe it might have been intentionally bad, but it was bad. So I wasn't feeling that. But outside of that, there wasn't a whole lot of necessity for special effects with that regard. It's not like there was really a lot of explosions. It's just when they were there, they weren't. I think, I deep dive in my own thought process to try to like understand me. I think for me, it's the concept of just being, does it look believable? Whether I know what it would be like or not. I don't watch a whole lot of spaceships take off in real life. But if it looks good, if it looks like it would be accurate, I would interpret it that. How do you interpret that? I don't know. It's kind of like you know it when you see it. I'd have to really break down. But you can literally see the graphics of like, it looks like old school TV graphics where there's this thing in front of this other thing and you could see, and it's like, yeah, that doesn't look real. But I'm not totally surprised. It was the 70s, as we mentioned. But yeah, those graphics weren't good. But I think the visuals outside of that were actually pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, circling back to the costumes, you had the ripped fishnet stockings, you had the glitter, the colored hair. I thought the set design, for the most part, using the mansion and their locations were fine. Were good. They set the stage for the convoluted story that they were actually doing. But you spent most of the time in the castle fucking dancing and all that shit.
It was really mostly in the castle and a couple rooms and then the laboratory, and that was about it. So it really wasn't, but that's how theater actually is. I think the theater was first and then the movie adaptation came afterwards, if I believe. So like it was presented in a way like a theater would be, and that makes sense to me. Like you don't have a whole lot of set changes in theater, so it makes more sense with that. So I don't really have anything.
You want to rate it?
Yeah.
I'm going to go slightly thumbs up.
I as well. Slightly thumbs up because I thought it was good. The graphics, there wasn't really a lot. The visuals were pretty good, though, for what it was.
There was more good than bad for me.
Yeah. So, all right. Then we're going to go forward to rewatchability.
An emotional connection. Kevin had to take a deep breath.
I listen, I've watched this, I think, 4 times, and I can count that many because it's not something like I had very specific. I actually watched this like 6 months ago, ironically, with my older kids because I was like, I like to watch films and I try to bit some older ones, and I literally said kind of the story. I told them about it. It was interesting, but I don't really want to watch this movie anymore, to be honest with you.
What was their reaction to the movie?
I mean, we did fast forward through a little bit of the sex scenes because of the sex scenes, but they were like, they grew up in my households and not seeing that a ton in their life. It's not like they see people in corsets all the time. They're not exposed to that. I do by, choice. I'm not trying to, they're teenagers, so it's not like they're not probably figuring things out on their own, but you talk about concepts of like, what's going on, and they're just like, their reaction said they weren't expecting some of what they were seeing, so which was fine, but they were, I was like, they were given the heads up that it's a little spicy, as I like to call it, and they were aware, and I'm like, you guys all right with this? And they're like, okay, yeah, so it was fine for them. I don't think they loved it, but I don't think they didn't look at it in the same way we did. I
exactly,
think
different generation.
Yeah, I think the story was just like kind of like we are. Like, what's the story? Like they could see the shock factor, and I can gather that from them. It's just they weren't like. They didn't care for the at least it seemed like the sexual exploitation part didn't really hit with them one way or the other. It was more like, I don't normally see people walking around with corsets that are guys and heels. So
and they probably were wondering why this would be a cult classic because they don't understand.
To a degree, so, yeah. I think it's it's kind of like anything. Why are songs and music cult classic songs? Why do I still listen to music from the 90s like I do? Because those resonate with me a lot. They have a huge meaning. So I've also listened to a lot of songs that don't resonate with me at all, but I've heard them and I'm familiar with them. There's plenty of movies I've watched. I like to think at least a lot of them I enjoyed at a minimal, but there are some that I didn't like and I won't watch again if I can help it. I know you love, was the Alien or Earth movie? Oh God, why can't I?
Avatar?
No, your John Travolta movie. Why can't I think of it? Planet AE.
Oh, Battlefield Earth.
I don't know why I couldn't. Battlefield Earth.
Fuck that movie,
so there's.
bro.
I don't know why I couldn't remember that. Battlefield Earth. But like once again, you watch something and know something, but you don't have to ever like it ever again, and that's okay. I think the idea is you expose yourself to things, and based upon how eventually you're brought up, mixed with your morals and education, mixed with your feelings and experiences, you develop as a person over time. I don't think it gets. I think you should be shielded to a degree at certain points of your life, but eventually the understanding what life is going to happen. And so for me as a father, not to get into this too much, but I'm okay with subtle exposures, but it's not like I'm trying to put anything too blatant or graphic in their lives. But hell, this is shit we grew up with. Like, I watched some terrible R-rated shit quotes as a kid, but I don't feel like I am a terrible person. I mean, maybe I'm not a good person, but I don't feel like I'm a terrible person. I'm not going out slaughtering people. I try to be...
That we know of.
That's right, that you know of. I'm not trying to... I don't consider myself rude. I try not to litter all the time. Like, there's just certain things, for people that just because you expose yourself... One of my favorite bands is Slayer, yet they are traditionally known as a very demonic band, yet at the same time, from my understanding, they're pretty big Christians, so they just sing about terrible concepts and whatnot. So there's lots of varying degrees of life. You make it what you will. To me, this is something that I understand and appreciate that a movie like this is made, and I'm glad it is made and put out there. But one, I'm not a big fan of musicals, so I don't want to watch this anymore. At the same time, like I said, the story itself, it's like, ooh, I was lost in it, and it's like it doesn't really resonate with me. It's just not a thing that really hits home. It's fine. It's just I don't feel any attachments to it.
Yeah, and I feel like if it did have a better story, the rewatchability of the movie, even though it's a cult classic, would draw us more to this movie versus other movies. And I feel like you also have to, in order to know the good or appreciate the good, you have to kind of do that with the bad. And that's not necessarily movies. That's just experience life in general, whether it's food or going to different places and stuff like that. I feel that's like a common thing as far as that you kind of come across. So
a great point. You don't know the good unless you learn to experience and appreciate the bad as well. Like, that's life. You're not always living in a happy, blissful world. Crap happens to you no matter what. So you can at least understand it. Now, I'm not trying to totally compare this. It's just, it's just a movie. I didn't really like it. It is what it is. But like I said, I'm also really biased. Musicals. I own a musical. It is called, and I talked about this before. It's called Cannibal the Musical. It is one of, if not, top 5 worst movies I've ever seen in my life. But it has huge sentimental value to me because it's made by Matt Stone and Trey Parker. It's one of their first movies, and I absolutely adore them. They're some of my favorite creators. If I ever get a chance to meet them, I would be fucking floored.
Fun fact, you know that Matt Stone plays the Cthulhu character in the new Monsters and Minions movie, Kevin?
I think did not know that.
Hilarious, yes.
That would be pretty funny.
Which I thought was funny. But let's see what some of the critics kind of said about this movie. Chicago Sun-Times critic Roger Ebert noted when it was first released, the Rocky Horror Picture Show was ignored by pretty much everyone, including the future fanatics who would eventually count the hundreds of times they've seen it. He considered it more of a long-running social phenomenon than a movie, rating it 2.5 out of 4 stars and describing Curry as the best thing in the movie.
Absolutely.
Maybe because he seems to be having the most fun.
Okay, I like
but thinking the story would work better performed on stage for a live audience, which that's an interesting thing that I wouldn't have thought about.
No, because it doesn't change the story.
Yeah, that's true.
It might hit, like I said, I love live theater. It is absolutely, I love it because it's when I watch a movie, to me, your you're limitless. Now, I know that's not true because budgets and everything come to mind, but you're giving that image. When you go to live theater, one, there's a vibe, there's a feeling there, and if you ingratiate yourself into it, and you really do, you're gonna love it. But at the same time, you're expected to use a sense of your imagination. The fact that this is live, this is in a sense live. We're not recording multiple times. I told Brian I didn't want to do that. It's one take and be done. And that's a fun element that like these people are live. If they screw something up, they just gotta keep fucking rolling.
WWE, they're live every week.
Exactly. There's things that are gonna happen, and you just in the moment you just oh shit and just keep going. And I love that factor about live theater. You don't know what to expect. It's the same story, yet it's the different version every night, and that's just something that's so amazing and so fun. And then you got to use your imagination for what's happening and expectation and stuff. So live theater would probably be a better version in a sense, but the story would be the same, and that's where it's going to miss me. So I don't know.
That's a good point. Which brings me to Newsweek in 1978 called the film Tasteless, Plotless, and Pointless.
See, even then, the pointless part, I don't know that it was pointless. I think they were going for something. I think they were trying to attack these tropes a bit with the sexuality content. And you know, and to a lot of degrees, I think it's probably good, but I wouldn't say that there's no negative context of what's happened since, if that was part of a large movement and things.
Speaking of that, that's actually a good point, because a lot of members of the LGBT community obviously compromise of a large part of this cult following. And you kind of referenced this earlier, but the shadow... What was it, Kevin? The shadow...
the shadow casting.
The shadow casting. I did actually read about that, and you are absolutely right. As far as people still like get together and actually watch these. And again, you even clearly talked about there's still showings in the theaters, and that's not just out by us, but it's also other places too.
And I like, if you can go see it, and I hope you can get a version of what I did. I think it is enjoyable. I think the experience is there. I think to try to enjoy it, I think that's worthwhile. But as far as the movie and content itself, like, miss me with that shit, B. All right.
But yeah, I mean, it's got a global following, and it definitely remains popular, and it's definitely increased being with the internet. Audience participation scripts from many cities are available for download on the internet. The internet has a number of Rocky Horror fan-run websites with quizzes and information, specializing in content and allowing fans to participate on a different level. So, like, yeah, you know, there's different annual conventions, sometimes lasting different days, which has been a big thing, not just in pop culture, but, like, the horror aspect, Rocky Picture Horror, like, I just saw a Transformers convention, pop up on my social media. So a lot of this nostalgia is coming back, and this is no difference with Rocky Picture Horror Show too.
One little tidbit I just want to add with the shadow casting: these people weren't just acting out the scenes; they were saying the lines. Like, this was an performing art. Like, this is like a whole live theater thing, and maybe that's part of the reason why I enjoyed it so much. So
yeah, I mean, Rotten Tomatoes has, based off of an 81% rating, 6.9 out of 10. The Rocky Horror Picture Show brings its quirky characters in tight, but its narrative thrust that really drives audiences insane and keeps them doing the time warp again. Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's still, to me, too high of a rating. That's just, people love it because of the emotional connection they get to it versus the actual content of the movie, and that's where the issue I have with it is.
Yep, and that's why the New York Times called it a low-budget freak show, cult classic, cultural institution with catchy songs.
So, and once again, this is how I feel about it, but I can acknowledge that there are other people that absolutely love this because what this might feel to them, and I appreciate that so much. I mean, the movie Waterworld, people are like, I would never watch that shit. And I'm like, I love that movie so much. I understand that, and so that's why when I even talk with my kids about, hey, let's watch this movie, I think you're gonna like this. I think maybe one or two movies I've ever said, and we've probably watched 2 to 3 dozen movies together off of my recommendations, and they're like, oh yeah, this was an awesome movie. So it's like, you kind of know what somebody is, their personality is, and obviously critics are just taking a collection of everybody, but this movie is for some people for sure. There's a large group of people that would love this, be it musical, be the content because of what it might mean to them, being the actors and acting of what it is. Like, there is definitely a place for this. It just wasn't really mine.
Yeah, no, I agree, and everyone's got different tastes, so we're not going to judge you whether you like that or not, and everyone's got an opinion, so...
I got 2 other things that aren't
Sure.
related to it. I just didn't know if you want to go through any more.
No, I
Okay.
kind of covered mostly everything I wanted to on this.
The red lips in the beginning and the end of the movie, phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. It's so iconic to it when you see that red lipstick on it. Amazing. I love that aspect. Last aspect that I didn't like and I forgot to mention is the Transylvanians, the motorcycle group. They just kind of disappeared and nothing happened. I didn't understand some of that because when they were going back to Transylvania and transsexual, were they coming with them? Were they still there? Like, there was an element that I was unsure of, like, these people are from the same planet. Are they staying? Are they going? Like, I thought it was a little lost idea or concept that could have been played. Like, if they were the actual audience members at the end versus it was kind of an empty audience, like, that would have made more sense if they were there and they just took off. And I don't know. Once again, kind of playing into the plot line that it was just, I don't know. It was just lost on me. So that's all I got. I just remembered after the fact. So. All right.
No, that's definitely fine. And even the lips weren't even the first poster that kind of came out with it. It was actually a second release.
But very iconic, super iconic. So
yeah, it was actually in spite of Jaws. It said a different set of Jaws, a spoof of the poster of the film Jaws that was also released in 1975.
That makes sense. They played on because it's goofy. It's supposed to do that. That makes a lot of sense. Oh, also there was one little other tidbit. I keep remembering this stuff right now. The ending for the UK versus the US, there was actually a subtle difference. So when they take off and go to planet transsexual, at the end there is Dr. Scott, Janet, and Brad all like in the smoke kind of exit of the spaceship. Well, in the UK version, they actually do another song. That's the biggest difference between the versions, and the reason they did and they added it in is they and removed it from the US version is because they said they actually thought it was too depressing, so they didn't want to put it into the US version. And I read about that because I was like, what the hell is the difference between the two? I think there's a couple other subtle differences, like the end song and the credits is different, and then I guess apparently some of the lines, the way it's sung might be subtly different, even though the lines are supposed to be the same. I didn't care to watch the whole thing again. Once I read the ending was supposed to be different, I fast forward through the UK version just to get to the ending, and it was literally maybe minute or two extra of Brad and Janet singing, and it's just like it almost looks like they're dying. I don't know if they were supposed to die or just be in the aftermath of the takeoff or not. Like, so it was almost a little more confusing if they are actually dying or not to me. I don't know. So missing point for me once again. So but then again, I don't know if it was for me exactly, but so all right, now I'm done. I don't think I have anything else. That's all I got.
Emotional connection, rewatchability, Kevin. What are you gonna rate this?
I will go slightly down because once again, I'm not a musical guy. The story kind of is what it is. The actors are phenomenal as far as the roles, so I can appreciate that. But I really don't want to watch this movie again.
Yeah, I'm going slightly down too, but for kind of like different reasons. Musicals for me have been fine because I've watched several with my actual daughter. But yeah, the story was like convoluted, and even when I tried watching this in the past, I didn't actually get through it. It wasn't as bad as Battlefield Earth. But again, the themes and the actors and the music are again what kind of sold me on this. So. But again, that would, I guess, lead more into my overall rating, where it would probably be somewhere in the middle, because the story does, with it being so convoluted, definitely brings it down for me. But again, it brings it back up to the middle just because the actors and actresses, the songs.
I'm still slightly down overall. Just it's the same stuff. It's too overpowering. Some of the other, I don't watch movies for visuals. I don't. It's kind of like a book. I don't read books, for the outside cover. I read it for the content. I want to watch movies for the content. The content. It's not the only aspect, but if the content's really missing for me, it's really hard, and that story just gets lost upon it. Like I said, I like the concepts it's trying to talk about and approach, and the Easter eggs, but that story's. I had the research to understand what they were really trying to get, and I don't like that. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I do believe I'm not the dumbest. So
you're not a sweet transvestite guy?
Most of the time I'm not, I guess. Most of the time I'm not. But no, definitely a lot of likable elements, but and iconic things that came out of this movie. I love that about it, but I don't love the movie. So I'm slightly down. I've seen it 4 times. That's plenty. I literally, because of all those times, recent time is the 4th time. So I definitely know how many times. I'm good.
I've seen it 1.5, if that counts.
Well, I mean, just the half says like you can easily get lost because some of it's the storytelling. It's not super exciting in the beginning, and musicals to me are just dull. So I got to kind of power through this. It is what it is. So. All right, that's all you got?
Thanks so much for tuning in the episode. Then.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you all. We're coming on Tuesdays on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and Thursdays on YouTube. I try to timely put that out there sometimes a little bit, but, Brian and I, it's fun, but we just get distracted in other priorities at times too. But if you are listening, we do appreciate it. And providing any feedback.
Yeah, any feedback. We're trying to share more on the Facebook page and other social medias too. But yeah, if you have anything you want us to review, let us know.
No fucking musicals, you bastards. All right. Take care.
See you later.